self-sufficient, that is the independent India of our dreams. A very good evening to one and all, respected jury, my fellow competitors, and to everyone present here. I am Code 313 speaking for the motion. Should we expel the dragon or should India expel the dragon? There are various perspectives to be looked into in order to answer the following question. China, being the fastest growing economy with the growth rate averaging to 10% in the last 30 years, possesses a great threat to others due to its use of various trading policies. For example, China, using its dumping strategy, has captured the steel and aluminium market of Australia. Technological and scale superiority of China allows it to mass produce products, accruing to the resulting economies of scale. These products are priced cheaply. This has resulted in the market of the domestic Indian industry being harmed greatly, which produces products of similar or in some cases superior quality, just at a higher price because they do not produce on scale. Government policies through various subsidies and other measures can help these local industries grow in scale and eventually compete in the existing price wars. India has one of the largest population but also one of the youngest. This implies that it has a large workforce, a large portion which is uneducated and unemployed. Industries like manufacturing, shipping, etc. are ideal for such a workforce since the labor can be skilled in order to perform mechanical tasks required in these industries. This was not the situation 2 decades ago, but this is now, and that this is going to be for the coming decades, making it the right time for India to reduce its dependency on imports from such industries and direct the spending into skilling the workforce accordingly. As Sonam Wangchuk wisely said, China is not afraid of bullets, they are afraid of wallets. Moving to the very next aspect, that is of national security. 2 wars and decades of hostility show that Indo-China relations will greatly remain unstable. Rising conflicts at the Indo-China border at multiple points implies the highest amount of scrutiny in everything involved with Chinese involvement. Chinese VC giants like SoftBank and Alibaba invest heavily in Indian startups in return for significant portions of ownership and repayment plans. This has multiple problems associated with them. The technological know-how in these startups benefits the Chinese economy more as is the case with Oyo. Large amount of profits and payments move out of the Indian economy. It creates various breaches in data scrutiny of Indian consumers and can also potentially expose various consumption patterns about the Indian economy. This motion should also be explored relative to the time. A lot of above perspectives are not immediately possible. The Indian economy is greatly dependent on exports from China while exporting very less to China. If all these imports were to be stopped, alternative capacities for domestic production or exporting must be found. China has comparative advantage for certain goods and services. These arise largely due to low labor costs and economies of scale, which allow them to enhance their manufacturing and production capacities greatly. Arguments like these imply that China is superior to India in a lot of areas, and expelling China immediately will turn out to be a bad decision. In economic terms, expelling the dragon in short run might turn out to be an expensive and undesirable process. The motion presents a broad argument that questions the dependency on the Chinese economic and objectively and not the immediate execution of it. India imports commodities worth billions from China, and in short run, putting a stop to these imports will only imply that export worth this amount will need to come from some other country. But planning such a policy in long run will imply that the Indian government can plan towards the execution of such policy, and the market worth billions which if benefits foreign economies can benefit the local Indian producers. All of this is possible with targeted execution from the government over the long run. Imports from China should be limited to only those goods that India will never ever be able to produce profitably, or those that only the Chinese economy can produce profitably. Since in both these scenarios, the Indian economy gets a situation more desirable than producing such goods domestically. This type of dealing with the Chinese economy turns out to be beneficial for the Indian economy and need not to be expelled. Lastly, I would like to say, as a citizen of India, we should come together and take a pledge to make it self-reliant and self-sufficient. Okay, there are a few points. It's like the motion just says we should expel the dragon. It doesn't set a time frame. Okay. It doesn't set a time frame from when and how we should expel the dragon. India should take steps to expelling, as due to China's aggressive approach. But yes, with time we should, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, 13A. 7B.
10B.
Yes. We'll just give
Let me
a
know when I
minute
can
for
start.
the judges. Yes, just a
Yeah.
minute. Judges, can we begin?
Yes, Simran.
Okay, thank you. 10B, your time starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening to everyone present here. My code is 10B, and I'm going to talk on the topic Expel the Dragon, and I am against the topic. Now, whenever you wish to expel something or boycott something, there are two things you need to consider or you need to keep in mind, the two questions. Number one is, should you boycott, should you let it go? And the other two is, can you boycott or can you let go? So all the arguments I'll present to you, people, will be based on these two ideologies. So the first argument which I'll bring forth, which is the most obvious one, which everyone has talked about, is the trade deficit. Let's talk about the trade deficit. For India, China is the second biggest trader. Currently, they hold 10.6% of all our trades. So let's hypothetically consider a situation that in the next 4 or 5 years, we somehow manage to let the dragon go. We somehow get rid of this 10.6% of trade and replace it with other multiple countries, whatever it may be. But we need to question as to why are we expelling the dragon? Why are we letting the dragon go? What is the intention behind it? Is it because of the border issues? Is it because of all the diplomatic issues we have with them? Is it because they're secretly, apparently stealing our data? That is obviously there. But another aspect is that India just wants to take a jab at it when we talk it like that. So based on that, I would like to bring to notice that if this is the way to take a jab at China, if this is the way to show them that India is also a dominant country and we will not be suppressed by the Chinese superpower, it will not work. Because for China, India only holds 2.1% of total trade. In fact, we're not even top 10 traders for them. If tomorrow we actually decide to stop trading with the Chinese government, Indian government will face the larger loss here. It's like shooting yourself in the leg for something greater, which does not work. So that's my first argument, talking about a trade deficit. The second argument I like to bring forth, which no one apparently talked about, is a different aspect altogether. No one talked about the consumers here. Let's talk about the consumer. If you look at it in the last 10 to 15 years, the consumer market has grown rapidly in India, whether it be from poor, middle class, or even rich people. Everyone is consuming everything these days. Everyone has a smartphone, everyone has a television, everyone has a refrigerator. Why is that so? Why is this change that has been brought into a society exist? It's because of globalization. It's because of trading. Because of trading and globalization, we have cheaper products in the market that anybody can afford. We have cheaper televisions, we have cheaper ACs, we have cheaper refrigerators. It's a good time to be a consumer. But now let's look at it in another aspect. Let's say that somehow India apparently bans the Chinese products. The thing is, a poor man, or even in some cases a middle class man, will no longer be able to afford the basic things he could 5 years ago when Dragon was there in the market. Now, this is certainly a bad thing for us locally. But if you look at it from a consumer aspect, it's great. He's getting what he wants. So I believe that we should not expel the dragon, because if we do so, that will severely hurt our consumer market. Sure, we'll have other options. We'll have American made options. We'll have European made options. We'll have even Indian made options. But let's be honest, nobody is going to match the price point that the Chinese products deliver us to us. And in some cases, even the quality. Now, talking about quality, there's a misconception that all Chinese products that exist in today's day and age are bad. That is not true. I'll give you a case study for the same. I'm pretty sure everybody here knows about this company called Xiaomi, which apparently exists in India. It's a Chinese company and it has its fair share of controversies to go behind it. But as of 2020 Q1, they hold 30.1% of total market share. And they started in 2013. Now I'll give you four more smartphone companies. Let's talk about Carbon. Let's talk about Micromax. Let's talk about You. Let's talk about Lava. Now I'm pretty sure some of you guys may not even have heard of these four companies. These four companies were started up in India. These are manufactured in India. These are totally make in India companies. And these guys started at the same time as Xiaomi. Why have they not succeeded? Why have they failed? It's not because they could not meet the price point. These are all budget phone companies. It's because they could never match the quality of a Chinese product. They could never match the quality Xiaomi or Realme or any Chinese brand at that budget is providing. So based on that, I would like to say, and I'm not an anti-rationalist, just to make things clear, I would like to say that in terms of technology and in terms of production, China has a superior hand. They've been at it longer than we have been, and I believe to move forth, we need that. We need that in our country. We need to learn from that, not push it away. So that's my second point. The third point I like to bring is about the startups, obviously. Yes, about the startups. Startups get a lot of foreign investments, Chinese investments mainly, like Zomato, Big Basket, Ola, etc. We need to understand that startups are the key to making India independent. This is the future. And the government needs to do something in which way they can promote domestic investors. But we need to realize that in today's day and age, Chinese investors exist. They have already infiltrated our market. Now, I see a lot of people saying that Chinese investors exist and they're taking money from our economy, our GDP, and putting it theirs and using that against us as it is. But let's take it in another aspect. I acknowledge that. I accept that they may be using it against us. But let's look at it in a different aspect. They are also infusing money into our economy. They are giving these startups the money they need to function. So it's a win-win situation if you look at it in a certain way. So that's another reason why I believe we should not expel the dragon, because that will stop the foreign investments. And let's be honest, we do need them. The startups need them. If we ban them, the startups will go through a lot of turmoil, will have a tough time finding investors. So based on that, the third argument is that. Now, I would like to bring forth a very important thing that is close to my heart, which the Indian government is doing. So I'm a millennial and I believe in internet freedom. I believe in internet liberty. And the only way the government has decided to take a stance in which they would expel the dragon is by banning certain apps, by saying that they steal information from us. Let's be honest, our information has been out there. The day we all signed up on Facebook, the day we signed up on Instagram, our information was out there. It's leaked. There is no securing that. And these Chinese apps, even if they're stealing it, if they not get it through this way, they'll get it through some other way if they really want it. So I believe that the Indian government banning certain apps just as a show of power play is good. That is great. They're showing that they can do that. But they're also playing with our internet right. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanvi. Judges, we just left with one last rebuttal of the opener, 12A of 2 minutes. 13B, yeah.